Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stanley Samsodza, and I'll take you through leadership and management. Today, we're going to look at the December 2017 past paper. So we're going to start with section B, move on to section C, and then we'll finish off with section D. Section B, these are matching questions. So we're going to start matching column 1 with column 2. Question 51, column 1, 51, Locke's theory, it corresponds with H, which is popularized the principle of tabula rasa. Question number 52, Kettler-Win theory, it corresponds with D, employees give priority to meeting their personal needs first. Question 53, Blake-Morton's theory, it corresponds with F, which is maintained that there are two critical dimensions of management, concern for people and concern for production. Question 54, Mayo theory corresponds with B, which is workers increase their productivity when special attention is given to them. Question 55, McGregor theory X, it corresponds with A, which is assumes that people dislike work and avoid it. So these are the responses which were expected for the first part of section B, number 51 up to 55. Number 56 up to 60, match the following communication process words in column 1 and their description in column 2. Responses in column 2 should be used once only. Number 56, encode. It corresponds with C, which is a process of converting subject matter into symbols such as words, actions, or pictures. Number 57, message. It corresponds with item D, which is subject matter, opinion, feelings, views, and suggestions. Number 58, channel. It corresponds with item B, which is means of sending the required information, ideas which can be informal and formal. 58, channel. It corresponds with item B, which is I'll repeat. Encode corresponds with C, which is process of converting subject matter into symbols such as words, actions, or pictures. 57, message. It corresponds with item D, which is subject matter, opinion, feelings, views, and suggestions. And 58, channel. It corresponds with B, which is means of sending the required information, ideas which can be informal and formal. 59, receiver. It corresponds with item E, which is the person for whom the message is meant. Number 60, decoding. It corresponds to item A, converting the message in such a way so that he may extract meaning for understanding. So these are the responses which were required for numbers 56 up to 60. Number 61, in this column from 61 up to 65, it's matching. Match the following leadership styles in column 1 and their description in column 2. Response in column 2 should be used once only. Number 61, laissez-faire. It corresponds with item G, which is lack direct supervision from their leader, hence reduced production. Number 62, autocratic, corresponds with item C, which is employees don't challenge the decision of their leader. Item 63, participative, it corresponds with item A, input of employees is valued, morale of employees is boosted. Number 64, transactional, corresponds with item B, employees receive rewards and punishments based on performance. And 65, transformational, it corresponds with item F, which is employees motivated through communication and high visibility. So these were the expected responses for number 61 up to number 65. Section, match the following conflict management approaches in column 1 with their description in column 2. Responses in column 2 should be used once only. So we are now answering question number 66 up to number 70. From column 1, number 66, avoiding, it matches with item D, which is create a lose-lose situation through unassertive and uncooperative. Item number 67, accommodating, it corresponds with item E, which is cooperative but unassertive, neglects one's own needs to meet the goals of the other party. Item 68, compromising, it corresponds with item C, which is assertive and cooperative. It is win-win strategy. Both parties try to find mutually satisfying solution. Number 69, collaborating, it corresponds with item A, which is moderates both assertive and cooperative, useful for meeting urgent answers. And item number 70, competing, it corresponds with item F. It is a power-oriented mode that is assertive but uncooperative. So these were the expected responses for number 66 up to number 70. So we move on to section C. In section C, number 71, section C, complete the following statements with one or two words. Number 71, the type of motivation where there is inner gratification and feeling of fulfillment is called intrinsic motivation. Number 72, dash is the subject matter originated by the center. The answer is message. Number 73, dash is the employee's expectation that performance will result in receiving a reward. The answer is instrumentality. And then number 74, dash is a formal legal document that provides evidence of a client's care. The answer is nursing report or nursing care plan. Number 75, the items bought in the hospital are recorded on a dash. The answer is inventory list. Number 76, the leadership style where the leader leaves the workers without direction is called laissez-faire. Number 77, the principle that says all those working in the same line of activity must understand and pursue the same is called unity of direction. Number 78, the management principle that emphasizes on maintaining teamwork spirit at work is important is called e-spirit de corps. Number 79, the term used when a receiver of the message makes meaning of the message is called decoding. Number 80, speaking up, drawing a profession's attention to an important issue and directing decision makers towards a solution is called advocacy. Number 81, the process of planning how the income will be used to cover one's expenses is called budgeting. Number 82, the expenses that are not always known ahead of time because they change from one period to another are called deferred expenses. Number 83, the devotion to a cause and also to the persons with whom one works and willingness to defend subordinates against external attack is termed loyalty. So these were the expected responses for section C, number 71 up to number 83. Number 84, I understand it's not yet appearing on the screen, but I think it will be up in just a few seconds. Number 84, a dash is a document characterized by information or other content reflective of inquiry or investigation, which is tailored to the context of a given situation and audience. Number 84, the answer is report. Number 85, in dash, communication, instructions, directives, and policies flow from up to down at all levels. The answer is downward communication. Number 86, dash describe the level, scope, depth of the desired quality of service. The answer is quality management. Number 87, The activity of checking the stocks of an organization is called audit. Number 88, communication that is from the manager to the subordinates is called superior subordinate communication. Number 89, what is the first step in decision-making process? The answer is identify problem. Number 90, the tool or vehicle for transmitting information in the world is called internal memo. Number 91, what explains how goals should be achieved and serve as guide that define the general course and scope of activity? The answer is strategic plan. Number 92, the type of change where there is imbalanced power ratio and one-sided deliberativeness. The answer is power coercive strategy. Number 93, the itemized list of tangible goods or property of an institution is called inventory list. Number 94, the principle of management where one head gives direction is called unity of command. Number 95, the strategy of change that is based on the assumption that people act according to their commitment to social cultural norms. The answer is normative re-educative. Number 96, the phase of change where change is maintained and the relationship is terminated is called rephrasing. Number 97, the type of communication that occurs between individuals or departments that are not in the same level of the hierarchy is called diagonal communication. So these were the expected responses for number 91 up to 97. Number 98, the informal methods of communication that coexist with the formal channel is called grapevine, which is an informal communication channel. Then we move on to number 99 and number 100. The responses for these two questions: for number 99, the ethical consideration a manager should take when making a decision which indicates that the actions one takes should be in an effort to promote good is called integrity. Number 100, the type of budget that estimates the cost of recruitment, hiring, assignment, layoff, and discharge of personnel is called a labor or personnel budget. So these were the expected responses for these questions up to 100. In the few seconds, you're going to see the diagram for the last two aspects. We move on to section D. As I always emphasize to my students, section D is the most important section where as a student you're supposed to score high marks. In this section, they give you 3 questions. The first question is a compulsory question. You're supposed to answer it. And then you choose any out of number 2 or number 3. So section D, it carries 200 marks, whereas section A, section B, and section C, all these 3 sections, they just carry 100 marks, which is equivalent to only 1 question. So 69% or 2/3 of the exam marks are in section D. We're going to look at all the questions in section D. Answer only 2 questions from this section. Question number 1 is compulsory, but in this case, we're going to revise all the 3 questions. Number 1, you have just been posted to Luamfumo Health Center as a sister in charge. After a few days of working, you realize nurses rarely document what they do, including the care given to patients. Number 1A1, define documentation. Define documentation. Now the definition that I have for documentation is a communication tool for exchange of information stored in records between nurses and other users. I will repeat. Documentation is a communication tool for exchange of information stored in records between nurses and other users. Part B of the question. List any 5 types of records which are used in healthcare system. List 5 types of records which are used in healthcare system. Number 1, we have what are called patient's clinical records. This is where you have your nursing care plan, the records that you write, the temperature charts, the BP charts, patient's clinical records, the doctor's notes. Then number 2, we have individual staff records. These are records which records the events that pertain to individual staff members. These can be incident reports, maybe for a patient that has fallen out of bed, or incident reports for a medical legal that might have happened in the ward. Number 3, we have ward records. Now, ward records, this is a record of activities which happen in the wards. This can be the meetings which are done by the nurses in the ward. They are kept as ward records. Number 4, we have what are called administrative and educational records. Now, educational records, for example, in the department, as part of continued professional development, CPD points, you find that people can have lectures, can have presentations, or outsiders can come and present on specific aspect of patient management. So the records, for example, attendance registers, they are kept as educational records or administrative records. And then number 5, we have what are called inventory records. These are records which keep all the information that we have of all the assets, the physical assets that we have in the department. This can be desks, this can be chairs, this can be beds, this can be BP machines. So inventory records, they record all the physical assets that are within a specific department. And then we go on to part C, discuss the importance of documentation and reporting in nursing practice. Now, in nursing, there's a golden rule. What is not written is not done. Therefore, it is important that as nurses, we document what we do. Number 1, it facilitates communication among nurses and other healthcare providers. Their assessments about the status of the patient, the nursing interventions being done, and the results of these interventions through accurate documentation. This decreases the potential for miscommunication. So in this statement that I have said, there are quite a number of answers that are there. I will repeat. It facilitates communication among nurses and other healthcare providers. These are more like 2 answers. Their assessments about the status of the patient, that is the assessment of the nurse or the assessment of other healthcare providers when it comes to the status of the patient. The nursing interventions that have been done, that's another point. So we record the nursing interventions in these documents as part of the reports, and the results of these interventions through accurate documentation, and this decreases the potential for miscommunication. The other major point, it encourages good nursing care by encouraging nurses to assess patients' progress, and to determine which interventions are effective, non-effective, as well as identify and document the changes to the plan of care as needed. The other major point, it promotes good nursing care by facilitating nursing research, all of which has the potential to improve the quality of nursing practice and nursing care. So the last point, we are saying documentation, it can also assist us in facilitating nursing research, all of which has the potential to improve the quality of nursing practice and nursing care. So these are the importance of documentation and reporting in nursing practice. Part D of the question, outline any 5 of Henry Fayol's principles of management. Now, in this question, they only required 5, but here I'm going to outline more than 5 responses. Number 1, division of work. Number 2, authority. 3, discipline. 4. Unity of command. 5. Unity of direction. 6. Subordination of individual interest to the general interest. 7. Remuneration. 8. Centralization. 9. Scalar chain. 10. Order. 11. Equity. 12. Stability of tenure of employees. 13. Initiative. And 14. Esprit de corps. You realize that in section B, normally they love you to match some of these management functions of Henry Fayol. So sometimes these questions, they can come in different ways. Sometimes you use it for matching and sometimes you have to start. So it is important that you at least understand at least 10 of Henry Fayol's principles of management by heart. Part E. State 3 types of planning in an organization. State 3 types of planning in an organization. Now, in an organization, when we talk of planning, we have more than 3 types, but in this particular case, we're just going to look at the 3. What are these 3 that we have? We have what is called strategic planning. We have what is called strategic planning. And then we also have what is called tactical planning. We also have what is called tactical planning. I'm going to emphasize on only 3. Now, starting with the first one, which is strategic planning. So the 3 that we have, I'll repeat them. We have strategic planning. We also have what is called intermediate planning, which is called tactical planning. And we have what is called operational planning. Now, strategic planning is an organizational management activity of defining its strategy or direction and making decisions on allocating the resources to pursue the strategy. Strategic planning is conducted by top management and improves allocation of scarce resources, including time and money. It is a long-range type of planning, for example, for 3 years or 5 years. Strategic plans are all about why things need to happen. It can also be defined as the strategic process of allocating resources and initiating actions to accomplish predetermined objectives and goals. It is used to set priorities, determining overall objectives of an organization, focus energy and resources on achieving organizational goals, and strengthen operations. So when we talk about strategic planning, this is done at a higher level by top management. It comes about in bringing the overall strategy as well as the allocation of resources. For example, strategic planning is done by our matrons or the chief nursing officer or the principal nursing officer, together with the SMS, together with the chief financial or chief accountant. So these are the people who plan how are we going to allocate resources, how many people are we going to employ, how many new assets are we going to buy in a hospital, how many new BP machines we are going to get, when are we going to renovate. So it look at the long-term plan. Then we have what is called the tactical plan. Tactical, this is more like how the overall strategy is going to be implemented. So the tactical planning is also called administrative planning or the intermediate planning. Now, this is done at the level of middle management, who have the task of polishing up on top management's plans. It is done to allocate organizational resources and coordinate internal subdivisions of the organization. Intermediate plans are for a short span of time, ranging between a few months to about a year. Whereas strategic plans, we said it's up to 3 years, intermediate 6 months up to a year. Tactical plans are about what is going to happen. So in our nursing fraternity, this is where we have our matrons. At strategic level, we have the chief nursing officer or the principal nursing officer. At tactical planning, this is where we have our matrons. Then we have what is called operational planning. Operational plans are about how things need to happen. And operational planning is planning done by a component of an organization that clearly defines actions it will take to support the strategic objectives and plans of upper management. This is planning done by lower level managers, and the plans made are short range plans covering a lifespan of 1 week to 1 year. These plans are more specific and determine how the specific job should be done in the best possible way. It is the organization and directing of the delivery of activities, for example, planning at ward level. So when we talk about operational planning, this is the level of the sister in charge. So at strategic level, we have our principal nursing officer or chief nursing officer. At tactical level, this is where we have got our matrons, matrons for specific divisions, pediatrics matron, internal medicine matron, mother and child. Then operational, this is where we've got the sister in charges for the specific wards. So this was the response which was expected for this one. And then we move on to part D. Part 2, explain any 3 types of leadership style. Now, when we talk about leadership style, we have different types. We have what is called different types of leaderships. We have what is called, I'll just look at the common ones, the common types that we have that I'll just emphasize to you. We have what's called the democratic leadership style. In the democratic leadership style, it encourages team members to participate in the decisions which need to be made. It creates a form of shared leadership where each team member is invited to share their knowledge, experience, or opinion about a project or a situation. Democratic leadership in an organization involves the redistribution of power and authority between employees and managers to provide employee involvement. In decision making, it encourages employees to be part of the decision making. This type of leadership style is used to most of the time to encourage everyone's participation and improve staff morale. Communication in this type of leadership is both ways. So there is more like a top-down and a down-top communication. So information flows both directions, from the top coming down and from down going upwards. That is a democratic type of leadership, which encourages participation and improves staff morale. Then we have dictatorship leadership style. Some people can call it autocratic leadership style. It is a style of leadership where there is always personal control by the leader or manager over the decision-making process for the team. It is one in which the manager or leader retains power, decision-making authority, goal-setting and control, and assume full responsibility for all actions. A leader using this style may choose to receive feedback from their team, but any decision is his to make alone. This type of leadership can be used when decisions need to be made quickly, where there is no time to consult subordinates. For example, in an emergency, for example, you are resuscitating. If you are the team leader, you use autocratic leadership style where you have to resuscitate in the fastest possible time. Then we have bureaucratic leadership style. Bureaucratic leadership style is where the manager manages by the book. Everything is done according to procedure or policy. If it isn't covered by the book, the manager refers to the next level above him or her. This manager is really more of a police officer than a leader. He or she enforces the rules. Bureaucratic leaders also tend to prefer rules, laws, and are rigid. This type of leadership style may be used where subordinates need to understand certain standards or procedures when they are performing routine tasks over and over again. So wherever there are routine tasks, bureaucratic leadership style is the best style to use. So these were the expected responses for this question 1 for November 2017 paper. We are now moving on to question number 2. Question 2. You are the district nursing officer standards. you have been tasked to change the setting of your department so as to increase efficiency and improve the quality of services given to clients. 2A1. Define change. Change is an act or a process through which something becomes different. I'll repeat. Change is an act or a process through which something becomes different. Part 2. Explain 5 types of change. There's wrote 5, but in brackets, I think I see a 6. I'm going to state and explain them. Number 1, we have what is called reactive change. Reactive change. Reactive change, this is where people don't think, they don't imagine, they are not looking forward to any change. And all of a sudden, change comes. And the people have to react to the new things which are there. So it is change which is reactive. You are not planning it and you never knew that it was coming. So it's called a reactive change. It comes without any notice, without people having an idea that it is coming. So that is the first type of change. Then we have what is called anticipatory change. Anticipatory change. Anticipatory change, just like the word itself, just like we talked about reactive, this way you are reacting, meaning you are responding to something that has already happened. In anticipatory change, you are anticipating, you are looking forward to the change to happen. So basically, you are changing in advance as you await something to take place. A very good example. You anticipate, for example, to say you're going to have more patients going to theater. So what are you going to do? You are going to change this team. You are going to change the setup because you are going to anticipate being busy. Just like a day when you've got a clinic or a day when you are admitting, the firm which is admitting is in your ward. You anticipate to be busy. So what do? You plan accordingly. So that is anticipatory change. Then we have what is called planned change. This is where you plan. You look at the change that needs to be done. You inform people. You educate them. You get their buy-in before you have the change happening. So you plan it, meaning you have the power to stop it. Whereas in reactive, you don't have power to stop it. Whereas in anticipatory, you don't have much, but in planned, it is your effort. Then we have what is called incremental change, number 4. Incremental change, this is where you are bringing in new change in phases, where you are increasing the changes slow by slow, where you are introducing something new each and every time. So basically, you start with a small change. Tomorrow, you increase on that change. The other day, you increase on that change until the full change has been achieved, just like the word incremental as it is. Then we have operational change. This is change which has to do with the way we do our operations. Number 6, we have what is called strategic change. This is where we have change at the topmost level, at strategic level, where we have our chief nursing officer and principal nursing officer. Change which happens at that top level is called strategic change. Then we have number 7, which is called directional change. This is change which has to do with the way things are moving. So sometimes you can change direction of a process. So it's called directional change. So these are the 7 types of changes that we have. But for you to remember them, just like the words mean, that is how the change comes into place. We also have what is called total change, and we also have what is called fundamental change. So these are the extra types of changes that we can look at. Part B, state 3 phases of change. The 3 phases of change is, first phase is unfreeze. The second stage is movement towards change. And the third phase is refreezing. I will repeat, unfreezing, movement towards change, and refreezing. Part C, explain 5 strategies you would use to effect the change. Explain 5 strategies you would use to effect the change. Now, the strategies that can be used to effect the change, there are quite a number, and we'll go through them. I think there are 5 that we can use. We have the first one. Let me just go to it and take you through. The 5 strategies that we have, I actually have more than 5. The first one I will talk about is called rational imperative strategy. Rational imperative strategy. Now, this strategy, it works on the assumption that human beings, if you give them a reason why you need to change things, they will accept if you tell them, if you explain to them the reasons. So rational imperative strategy, you tell the people who are going to be affected by the change why you are putting the change. They are more likely to accept the change. So that is the first strategy, rational imperative strategy. Strategy number 2 is called normative re-educative strategy. Normative re-educative strategy. Now, this type of strategy, you use the values that people are used to. So you don't just go and change things or the way people do their things, but you look at their values and you try to tailor-make your change with something which is in tandem with their values and beliefs. So if you bring in a change which goes against people's beliefs, they are more likely to refuse that change. So we call it normative re-educative strategy, where you need to re-educate people on the new change on the table, but being cognizant or remembering their values and norms as you are effecting that change. Then we have number 3, power coercive strategy. This strategy is where a person uses power to effect change, where you use your position. I'm the boss. So since I'm the boss, either you take it or you leave. So people are forced to take on the change because they have been coerced, because they've been threatened by the position an individual has. So they are coerced because of the power. So it's called power coercive strategy. Number 4, you can effect change using incentives. So another strategy is proposing incentives. So sometimes people, if you bring them incentives or something which is enticing, they might take the change. So you can propose benefits that people can get from the new change. So people are more likely to accept that new change. So number 4 is propose incentives. Number 5, recruit champions of change. In recruiting champions of change, you identify people in the department whom you are going to take, and you are going to show them how the change will happen. They are going to be the first people to work with the new change. And when they've adapted and when they've accepted it, you bring those people back into the group, and the other people who have not yet moved towards the change, they will learn from the new champions who have just understood how things are to be done. Then we have number 6, which is called shift the burden of change. Change is burdensome. So if you want to effect change as a strategy, make sure that the change itself is light. People are more likely to accept the change. The last one, number 7, you redefine cultural values. So sometimes you can just redefine the cultural values. People can accept the change. So these are the strategies that we can use to effect change. They wanted 5. I've just given you a breakdown of 7. We move on to another part D. Discuss 3 sectors. Part D. For this question on the 6 sectors to work with to bring about change in the department, the way I would approach this question is we have intra-organizational sectors or departments that you can work with. This is where you can work with different departments, like the nursing department. You can work with the clinical officers as well as the medical officers as one department. And you can work with the security department, you can work with the pharmacy department, you can work with the radiology department, you can work with the health assistance team, or the housekeepers. So these are the internal stakeholders that you can work with to bring about the change. Then we've got other external stakeholders, sectors outside of the hospital system. This is where we've got the Ministry of Education, where we can send in message to schools for the pupils to carry to their parents so that they can inform them about the changes that are taking place in the department. We also have health center committee. They can also assist in disseminating information on the changes that have taken place in the department. We also have the churches. They can also help in the dissemination of information on the changes that are taking place in the department. We also have Ministry of Information. So really, we've got traditional leaders. So these outside stakeholders, they can also come in and assist in the dissemination of information, as well as in updating them on the changes that are taking place, so that the information, it reaches all community members. So we have intra-organizational stakeholders and extra-organizational stakeholders. So all these different stakeholders are involved when you are planning to make changes to your department. So these were the expected responses for question number 2. We now move on to question number 3.